Welcome back to Blitz and Gigs. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the modern NBA playoffs and MVP award. And I'll just let you take the lead, man. How do you feel about these playoffs?
Yeah, let's do it. So at the time of making this video, Eastern Conference Finals, we're looking at the Pacers being up 2-0 on the Knicks, which is a huge shocker to most people. And in the West, we have the Thunder over the Timberwolves 2-1 right now, as well as SHAI getting the MVP. So I guess we can kind of touch on SHAI getting MVP first, as that was the most recent of the events. Honestly, well-deserved. It was a very close race between him and Jokic. I'm not a huge fan of the foul-baiting play style. I think it's been really tough to watch thus far in these playoffs. But statistically, he was by far the most dominant player this year, and I think that him leading the Thunder to the 1 seed, just, tip of the cap to him, and cherry on top to how good of a season he had. So,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, to speak to the foul baiting dilemma, obviously that's been a huge discussion for the latter half of the year. But until SHAI was the MVP favorite, when did people really care about that? To speak to the dilemma, if that's what you want to call it, of SHAI Gilgeous-Alexander getting to the line, an overwhelming percent of the time, it's like 30% of his points are free throws.
Right.
Obviously, that's not an enjoyable version of the NBA.
Right.
But he's a great scorer either way, and it might be just because people are scared that they're gonna, put their team in a bad position in terms of the bonus or just personal fouls, fouling out, whatever. But in any case, he's a great scorer regardless of his foul points. The only argument that I feel is somewhat legitimate to discredit this MVP is just the fact that Jokic is a huge threat on defense and a great rebounder. So it's two different arguments and two sides of the MVP coin. But if you're a fan of just pure offense, I feel like that's what SGA is.
Totally. And along with the Thunder being the 1 seed in the West, they did also have the number 1 defense.
Right.
SHAI wasn't necessarily the best defender on that team, but definitely wasn't a negative. So I hear you there. Another thing I want to bring up with SHAI, so you bring up how most 30-point per game scorers are getting to the line 10 plus times, and SHAI is only getting to the line 8 times. It's not necessarily the amount of times that SHAI is shooting free throws that is bothering people, myself included. It's how he gets there. This is the playoffs, and I've seen Nick Wright specifically touch on the fact that they let the Thunder get away with, rugby tackling people on one end of the floor when they're on defense, and the second that they get the rebound and march it back down the court, SHAI on no contact just falls to the ground and throws up a floater, and they're getting calls. It's very hypocritical. It's not a fun brand of basketball to watch. The fact that they are getting a favorable whistle in that regard. So, yeah, maybe he's not abusing it and getting 15, 20 trips a game, but it's just so egregious the times that he is getting the calls, which, as a guy who picked the Timberwolves to win this series and going into the playoffs, I thought that the refs were going to crack down a little bit on the foul calling. It's been a surprise to me. I haven't enjoyed the refereeing as much the last couple series for the Thunder, but I mean, with that being said, honestly, we can just kind of tackle this series as a whole. So game 3 was last night, I believe, 2 nights ago, and the Timberwolves bounced back in a big way, beating them by 30 to 40 points. And the story of the game was honestly, with the whole SHAI discussion, they blitzed him a lot, and they kind of said, hey, everybody else on the Thunder, try and beat us, because as a team, they haven't been shooting as well as they have been in the regular season in this playoff run. So, SHAI, you're going to get yours, but we're going to do everything we can to make the ball have to go in through somebody else's hands.
Right.
So, the second they did that, started getting blown out. So, right. Where does this lead you going forward? How do you think this series plays out now that the Timberwolves have taken their first game?
Right. And when we were midway through the first quarter of game 3, Anthony Edwards is outscoring the Thunder. And, this is a team that knows how to spread the ball, knows how to move the ball well, and just play, a very super team-like version of the game. To me, obviously a 2-1 deficit, that's no easy task, but when I look at the run that Anthony Edwards is on and this whole, Timberwolves unit, I think if they get past the Thunder, the finals are theirs to take. that's just the way I see it. Like, the Thunder have been the overwhelming favorite for a long time. They were my favorite heading into the playoffs. And, you know, I like what JJ Redick was doing with the Lakers. I like Luka and Braun together. We love Austin Reeves. And then just shut all that down.
Mm-hmm.
This is a whole nother level. This is the best team in basketball. So I feel like it's kind of like a breath of fresh air just to get on the other side of this. That said, 2-1, I don't know that they're exactly out of it yet.
Yeah. You know, there's an old saying, the series doesn't start until the home team loses a game. And neither team has done that thus far. However, switching over to the Eastern Conference Finals, the Knicks have managed to lose both of their home games. So, with that being said, how do you feel about the Knicks right now? Down 0-2, got their next 2 games in Indy. Are they cooked? Are they done?
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that's kind of overwhelming odds to find yourself in, and it's playoff basketball. Nobody's here that shouldn't be here, but the Knicks shouldn't be here, man.
That's honestly valid, because had Jason Tatum not gotten hurt, would they still be in the second round right now, battling for?
Right. I mean, Boston has been on a heck of a run these last few years. They have been the super team. They have been the Thunder, and that story for the last few years. But you know, you lose your star guy, and people have narratives about Jason Tatum too, the same way they do about SGA. I think they're a little less valid about Jason Tatum. I think he's just an incredible player, and for him to go down, it had such a clear impact on even just the locker room, in addition to the on-court performance from the Celtics. That, okay, Cleveland, the 1 seed, is out. Boston, the 2 seed, is out. It's anybody's game now. We shouldn't be shocked that Indy is, you know, stealing games on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a great point there. And in my pre-series analysis TikTok that I uploaded maybe a week ago, I mentioned how the Pacers kind of blitzed the Cavs in their first 2 games at home and managed to take both of those games in Cleveland as well. Went back to Indy and the series was over. And I said I had a similar feeling that this was going to happen to the Knicks, and lo and behold, they're down 0-2. Right. So, like, this Indiana team is just so young. Tyrese Halliburton answered all the doubters after that Olympic benching and how he finished the year last year. He's been terrific. Honestly, I can't sing his praises enough. I think Tyrese Halliburton is absolutely like a top 8 or 10 player in the league. He's been so electric. Like, I've seen people compare him to Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, the way he's able to facilitate an offense, and even if he's not scoring a ton of points any given night, like, the offense still runs through him, and the Pacers are still able to crack 120 points easily with him. So,
yeah, and I mean, that kind of reminds me, like, when the 2023-24 Lions, like, anytime they win a coin toss, they want to receive the ball. You just bring that hard-nosed, physical game, you know, the first date that's circled on your calendar, even if it's on the road. You're not waiting for your home game to turn it on. Absolutely not. Like, you are going to bring it to them. You're going to steal a game, knock them off balance, and then it's kind of yours, and you can kind of coast to it. And that's what Indy's done. I don't think that'll necessarily work in the finals, especially against, you know, a team like OKC. But right now, it's a lot of fun to watch.
No, for sure. And bring that mindset over to the Western Conference again. And the Thunder just came off a 7-game dogfight against the Nuggets, and the Timberwolves were rested. They had a chance to go into Oklahoma City, take Game 1 while the Thunder were tired, get back to Minnesota and, you know, have home field advantage. And they didn't do that. So you make a great point there. I think that was a huge missed opportunity. Anytime you have a team that's on short rest and you're able to steal a game at home, it's a must.
Yeah, it's a big advantage.
For sure. And I think that may cost Minnesota a trip to the finals if they're not able to steal either Game 5 in Oklahoma City or a Game 7 and a packed out crowd. So it's going to be tough sledding for them from here on out.
For sure.